Is the brand new Fiat 124 Spider a misnomer? Our own Dan Neal, the WSJ Rumble Seat columnist, says yes. It's really just a re-engined, rebodied Mazda Miata. Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good. Dan, thanks so much for being with us. So we know your first car was a Fiat 124 Spider, so this is personal for you, right?
That is right. It was my very first car, bought on my 16th birthday. I burned two engines out of it, and before it was destroyed in an ironic car accident.
By your friend, by the way. Did you ever speak to that friend again? Was the friendship
Never.
over?
Thank you for asking. No, never did.
I don't blame you.
Mine was a beautiful car designed by Tom Jarda at Pininfarina. It was a Turin show car, absolutely wonderful. The design was so durable that they built this car, variations of it, for over 2 decades. And but I mean, technically, mechanically, my car was a disaster compared to the new one. I mean, you could hear it rust.
But still, Dan, that original was one of the most popular sports cars ever made, correct?
It really was. They said the Fiat people remind us that over 170,000 were sold in the U.S. and over 8,000 are still on the road. So, as I say in my column, remain vigilant.
That's right. But I mean, when you look at the two cars side by side, I know that I am not a car expert by any stretch of the imagination, but still, you can clearly see that one is more beautiful than the other. Why can't they just re-release the vintage car?
It's a fantastic question, and one day they may be able to recreate that magic. But right now, you know, car makers have many. They don't have the free hand that they did in the old days. The technology is very different. Crash, aero, and but regardless of that, I don't think Fiat's Centro Stile really got this car exactly right. As I mentioned in the story, you know, the rebodied car, which is all unique. The sheet metal is all unique to Fiat, looks more like a British car, and the Japanese car looks more like, if you ask me, sort of an Italian car with the fine, sinuous lines.
And so they also changed the motor, which wasn't a necessary change, right, Dan?
That's what. Well, I thank you for endorsing my opinion on that, embracing that. Yeah. Now, look, this 1.4 multi-air turbo that's in this Fiat is a great machine, great little motor, but the one that comes in the Miata, the Mazda, was designed after the Italian engines of the classic era. And I mean, why would you change that of all things? It's naturally aspirated, makes a great sound, it's a rever. Why?
So would you go so far as to say that original Miata is better than this version?
You know, that's interesting because the differences really are expressive. They're basically tied, and you can't really ask for more. You can say that Fiat didn't mess up the Miata, and that the changes they made to it are very stylistic, and they're supposed to be brand expressive. And so I would call it a tie. But for me, my heart would lie in the old car, and of course, I think I prefer the Mazda.
I'm with you there. Can we call this new car the Fiata? Would that be okay?
The marketing department hates that with a purple passion. So yes, by all means, call it a Fiat.
Thank you, Dan Neal, for that.
You're welcome.